Hey everybody, how's it going? Like Butter here. Welcome back to another Division video. Today we're going to be talking about the huge change to the submachine guns in the Division. Now, as most of you guys know, I've been pushing super hard to get crit chance back as a passive talent on the SMGs, and finally they put crit chance back on them, and this made the SMGs viable again for the first time since 1.3. Back in 1.3, you could do the 3-piece Firecrest with the MP7, and then the MP7 was pretty much the only viable SMG in 1.3. And before that, you know, 1.1, 1.2, even before those patches, the SMGs were king in the Division. Now, the reason they were king was not solely for the fact that they had crit chance on them. There was also a lot of other factors involved, like the fact that SMGs worked with Sentry's Call, the fact that crit damage was a lot easier to get than it is now. They had crit chance, they had extreme, amounts of rate of fire. You could get 26% rate of fire on your mag. There was tons of reasons why the SMGs were king back then, and with all of the changes in 1.4 where they kind of toned down all the stability and accuracy, and the hip fire has been nerfed like multiple times, you're starting to see SMGs fall more and more out of the meta. However, with the change from crit damage back to crit chance, this has brought the SMGs back up to par with the assault rifles and the other weapons. Now, I still think that the assault rifles are still king. They're good at all ranges. They're good at close range. They're good at long range. Medium range are where they kind of, you know, are the best. And I think that, you still see a lot of people running around with assault rifles, but at least now the SMGs have the potential to compete. Now, I still think that they might feel a little tiny, very tiny bit underpowered, but I would like to wait and see how it goes. Maybe people find a build that works really well for the SMGs. In this video, I'm using a high-end build. I think the high-end build is one of the strongest builds when it comes to DPS in 1.6. I think Alpha Bridge is also a really good option, but the Skull MC gloves are just so good to give you that extra 16% damage. It just makes it a very viable option. Now, you see me check my extended mag here. There must be a bug in this patch where I think they might have maxed out the extended mag. I don't know if that was intended or not, but I have 71 bullets in my magazine, and I had to figure out why that was. But you can see the amount of damage that I'm outputting is actually very good. I'm using the Navy MP5N, and I can compete with assault rifles up close. Now, obviously, medium range assault rifles should be SMGs, and I think that SMGs are really getting a lot of power from this change to crit chance, because what it allows you to do is it allows you to spec more into crit damage and enemy armor damage, whereas the assault rifles, you don't really need to do that because it already has such a high base enemy armor damage. You can kind of just go into whatever else you want. But on SMGs, with the crit damage, you basically had to force yourself to put most of your stats into crit chance, or else your crit damage would be completely useless as a passive. On top of that, the crit damage isn't super strong on something like the SMGs because they have such small optimal range, and they also have such low damage that once you're outside that optimal range, that crit damage kind of becomes a bit irrelevant because you're hitting for such small amounts anyways. So now with the crit chance, you can actually spec a lot of crit damage, a lot of enemy armor damage, and you can get a lot of damage elsewhere, and you get more of a variety of talents, whereas before you kind of were forced to use, like, you know, Vicious or Adept or any of these any of these talents that would give you crit chance because it synergized so well with the crit damage. Now you have more options. You have way more build diversity when it comes to SMGs. What I'm using in this video, I'm not actually using responsive here. I am using hurried. And what hurried allows me to do, since there's such a high amount of crit chance on the weapon, I basically have a 1-second reload every single time. So what did that allow me to do? It allowed me to put a lot of my things that I would normally put into reload speed, like, you know, on the holster. I think reload speed on the holster is an extremely good pick, but it allowed me to pick other things like crit chance and crit damage as major stats. So I think that the build diversity in 1.6 is the best it's ever been in the division. All of the major attributes are worth getting. The only thing that I think's a bit low is maybe the resist all stat. I think maybe the resist all stat needs to be buffed a little bit. But there's so many different options on your gear that I think you guys are going to feel like it's a completely new game, because you're going to be able to play the game in ways that you could never play the game before. So I'm going to put a link in the description to the PTS 4 notes, so you guys can check that out if you want any details on other things that have changed. But the main reason I wanted to make this video was just to show you guys that SMGs are once again a viable option, and they do very well up close. Like I said, I still don't feel like they feel, you know, as strong as the assault rifles, but I think they are a prime contender when it comes to damage up close. Obviously, with the huge nerf to hipfire, it makes you a little bit less mobile with the SMGs, which means if you come face to face with someone with an assault rifle, you're probably going to get put down pretty quickly. But it's not bullet spongy like it used to be with the change to armor. You know, the 70% armor mitigation in PTS 2 kind of held back the SMGs a lot, because the SMGs strive off of raw damage and not, you know, enemy armor damage like the assault rifles do. Now that it's brought down to, like, I think 30 or 35%, which is what the max you can get on the base armor on your rolls, now the SMGs actually do decent amounts of damage. So I want to hear what you guys think in the comment section below. Hopefully you guys are happy. I see a lot of people in the community, I don't want to say a lot of people, but there's some really small YouTubers who like to make videos saying that YouTubers are killing the division because of stats changing, like armor getting changed out and stuff. Did people really want to see armor stay a stat that we had to put on every single piece of gear? I think it's much better now, because you know, you don't need to pick health. You're not forced into picking certain, you know, major and minor attributes. Everything is viable at this point, and you can build your character in the way that you want. And I think that, you know, I just think that's silly to say that YouTubers are killing the division when all we're doing is just trying to help, and we play the game so much that we see these changes that would benefit the game in the long run, and some people may not necessarily see that, and it makes me kind of sad. But just remember, guys who pushed so hard for SMGs to get crit chance again, and now that they do have crit chance, I feel like they can compete with the other weapons. Now on PC, I feel like ARs are still king, because you got the extreme accuracy with the mouse and keyboard. So you have you can control the ARs a lot more by pulling your mouse down and whatnot. On console, I think that the SMGs and the ARs are actually going to be equal in strength. Because of the fact that it's a bit harder to control the assault rifles with a controller. So I think that console players that used to like the SMGs are really, really going to like this change to the major attribute on the SMGs. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the division content. I definitely want to change it up a bit. I don't want to have everything division all the time, as much as I love this game and as much as this game is my favorite game. I do want to switch it up as well. You know, Wildlands is going to be coming out, For Honor, all games that I'm going to be covering and posting content on. So hopefully you guys are going to enjoy the fact that I'm going to switch it up a bit. Also, I want to mix some scary games into the mix too. Now, if you're not into that kind of thing, it's totally understandable. I'm still going to keep up with my division content, but I don't want to make my channel too one-dimensional, like the mistakes that I've made in the past, where I've done that and then, you know, things have changed. Look at this SMG. Oh my god, I'm just putting people down. It is great. I love it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'm going to let the rest of this video play out so you guys can kind of get a feel of what it's like with the SMGs without the commentary. Anyways, I'll be making more videos talking about different builds and stuff. I'll do a build video soon on my high-end build that I put together for this. And hopefully you guys have a fantastic day, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.
Points for kills is confirmed active.
Point multiplier has become available.
Buddy spawn is engaged. You're kicking rogue ass.